Hey, what's up, guys? This is Brian at Whisper Status 74. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the channel. If this is the first time you are seeing me, please consider liking and subscribing. We are real tech for real people. Today's video is a follow-up to a video that I did last week saying that my own LG CX OLED at 77 inches and at 55 inches was a mess. There is a lot going on with this particular display, and that video was met with a lot of support, a ton of criticism and toxicity. We're going to address that in this video, as well as next steps for me and perhaps something that you can do with your display. I'll just share with you what my next steps are.
I've seen things people wouldn't believe.
All right, guys, these videos tend to be pretty long, but I do want to address the last video. I've done several videos, many videos, in fact, on the LG CX. I call it the CX. I had the 55-inch at launch. So I've been covering it since it released, since before it was reviewed by anyone. I had one, and meaning that I purchased it sight unseen. I didn't wait for it to be reviewed by large websites or channels. I had mine. I love the C9. I love the C8, and definitely wanted the CX, especially for its gaming features and all the specs that it has. Variable refresh rate, G-Sync, FreeSync, 4K 120, and 4 HDMI 2.1 ports. Those are all things that I want and needed. The reason why I want to do this video is to clarify a few things that were brought up in the comments of the last video. The reason why I bring up the 55-inch and having it for that period of time is there was many people in those comments saying that I'm flip-flopping, that I'm trying to fearmonger, I'm trashing the LG, even though it's my panel. Now, I know in YouTube, most of the people that watch your videos are not part of your community, and I completely understand that. If you saw that video for the first time, you may have a different opinion of me, as it was a bit of a rant video. It was an honest, frustrating video. The reason I did that video is the issues that I'm seeing and experiencing on both of my panels, I'm not seeing on other channels or other professional reviews. They are talking about the raised black issues, very little about the floating blacks, which I will put in this video probably in between somewhere, and I'll put it in, but it's the floating blacks. It is something that I wasn't seeing on a lot of videos. So I wanted to share with you guys what I was personally seeing and what console it was on. And it wasn't just on the Xbox One X. I was seeing that in film. And I don't expect people to watch the whole 30-minute video. I understand that I'm talking for a long period of time. But what they were saying in a lot of those comments was, it's clearly the Xbox. Have I experienced it with the PS5, which I do have, which will be a video I'll have to address as well. Yes, not as bad, but I still am seeing not just crushed blacks, but what I call crawling blacks. It looks almost like Venom from, the movies, the Spider-Man films. The character is just kind of a crawling black, and you see that in games, and I was seeing that also in films. Here's an example of it, both in games. I also have it in movies as well. Also, as of December 20th, this video was shot a few days ago, I do have the update on a USB that is what you're hearing about in the forums that is still in beta. I will download that in the next few days, and I will follow up this video, but I wanted to show you what it is, and I will try that update for you guys. Now back to the video. Now that's just a quick example of it. Seeing that in films using a Panasonic UB820, using HDMI 2.1 cables, going through a receiver, going straight to the display. Variable refresh rate disabled, FreeSync disabled. Any testing to disable and re-enable features is what I did hours upon hours with these displays. The LG CX at 55 inches was absolutely amazing out of the box in March. I've had that panel since then and have tested it against the Sony X950H for months, which I had for 7 months, courtesy of Value Electronics. This is my panel, though. I bought that one, or this one. I'm keeping it. It's mine. And in that video, the reason why I want you to go back and watch that video is there's a lot in those comments that is valuable. Not just the critiquing or the toxicity or the comments directed at me, but the thoughts on the CX. Some people have absolutely no issues with it at all, which is absolutely possible. And I'm glad that you don't have any issues. If you have a perfect panel, I'm happy for you. But the reason I'm talking about it is I want other people that have these issues to come out and tell me they do. And if I can get that information, I can help you address it, or we can figure it out together. That's the whole point. Not to trash a display which I own. Had it since March. One of the comments, or several of the comments in that video, said that you're flip-flopping. Yes and no. I did a video 3 weeks ago where I was very accepting of where the CX was. My specific CX, which was the 77-inch, was going back due to severe banding. I said that in the video. That video was about me staying with the CX itself, that I do like the panel. I am happy with the display as it shuts off on me. I am happy with LG CX all around, and I am going to stay with it. That video was a lighthearted video about girlfriends and relationships and your boys. Anyway, go back and watch that video, but it was lighthearted. That other video was more, it was more ranty. And out of 800 plus videos this channel has, I probably have 10 of those videos. This thing's asking me to update. Now, the reason why I want to go back into the flip-flopping, my CX was going back no matter what, the 77-inch. The 55-inch did not have the update out of the box in March. It was not done in the factory. Perfect. No issues with raised blacks or any blacks whatsoever. Again, you can see that on the channel versus the Sony 950H. The 55-inch was available at the time. I bought it for the channel as a reference display for all future displays to go and do battle with. If I didn't like the CX, why would I reinvest and buy a 77-inch version? If I want to trash the display, which I don't do on this channel, the point of me buying a larger one at the price the 77-inch was at the time, just to trash it makes no sense. I could do that with the 55-inch. So while having the 77-inch, I did have extreme banding, which did improve after a few hundred hours. It's still there. The crawling blacks were kind of there right from the beginning. Not just on the Xbox, on the new PS5, also on the Panasonic UBA20 and film. But I was accepting of, or at least hoping that some of these updates would fix it. In that video, I had mentioned that it seemed to get worse with the last update. Didn't say that the update caused it. This display, the 55-inch, unfortunately did take some of the updates between powering it on, powering off. I'm sure in haste I hit a button quickly and it took the update. It has the same issues. The reason I wanted to do that video was to tell you that I have two of them. One was in March, one was bought months later. They're probably not from the same lot, and they both suffer from the same issues. It's almost like the game Cyberpunk, as it's being ripped apart for being not finished and buggy, while some people are saying they've had no bugs or issues at all. Is that possible? Of course it's possible. All I'm here to do is give you my thoughts on my panel. My opinion is it's a processing issue. It's slow. Something's wrong with the CPU. It's just not keeping up. It's not laggy. It moves around fine. It does its thing. But for me, regardless of full RGB, limited RGB, games, cables, displays, it doesn't matter which HDMI it is, which HDMI I use, it still has that issue. And it's maddening. And some of you guys, not just the crawling blacks, but that floating blacks, it's very distracting, as OLED's main strength is black level. So, if you want to see everything that I've had wrong with the panel, you can go back to that video. I apologize if it was too ranty. However, I'm going to address what I want to address and talk about what I feel is important on this channel. I don't want to do videos for clicks or for views. I'm just as happy to get 50 views or 1 view for a gaming video. I don't enjoy doing those ranting videos, but they are necessary. This is what's happening on my displays. I have 2 of them. If you're somebody who bought one that cost a few $100s, you're having issues, I want you to be heard. I want this to be a place where you can comment. But in that video, it's amazing that people are saying LG CX this year is absolute trash. It's a step back. Here's the funny thing about the CX. More so than any display I've encountered ever, is the most loved and the most ridiculed and hated. Now, hating this display And criticizing it does get views. The fear-mongering of HDMI 2.1 does get views, which is why you see people doing videos on them every single day. These are mine. I have them in the house. To ridicule and destroy my own display for a few thousand views isn't exactly worth it. And that's kind of the point of this video, is to talk about also what the next steps are. But quickly again, flip-flopping. Yes, this panel is going back anyway to be replaced. I was furious when that sand crawling black wasn't just in games. So the flip-flop that you guys are referring to, or some of you are, was, yes, seeing it in movies was pretty new. And I was pretty shocked when I was watching Rogue One and my screen was flickering. I was watching non-Dolby Vision films and I was having not raised blacks. Raised blacks I can fix by dropping the brightness a few notches. I was seeing moving blacks. Now, a friend to the channel, Brass Tax, shout out to Brass Tax, has the same exact display. He's on his second one. His second one does not have this issue. So I have to share that. Some of you guys do not have this issue. And again, in the comments, if your panel is perfect, I am happy for you. I want you to have the best panel. I don't want you to be feeling, and here's the thing, guys. I get no joy in telling you there's issues with these. This flip-flopping of this is great, this is garbage, I don't have any interest in doing that on YouTube. There's over 800 videos on this channel. You can watch them and see where I am on it. So, what's my next step? So I have a 77-inch CX. The 55-inch is mine. They're both mine. But the 55-inch, I am going to run through its updates, see what happens. It'll be my reference display, again, against every panel. You'll see it go against the Q900R. The 77-inch is my personal display. Now, at 7 minutes in, I have an opportunity to get a Sony Z9G at 85 inches. We'll do a whole separate video on the Z9G. We've covered it before. For many of you, it's the dream display. It's 8K, it's 85 inches, backlight master drive. It's the display many of you want, but it doesn't fit my needs. And it's something that's so important for what we talk about, the best display. The best display is the one that's best for you. You can say that, the CX is the best display going. In my opinion, this year, the LG CX is the best, most fully complete display. That's my opinion, and it fits my specific needs. I am in a very small media room with no windows. I am an avid gamer. PC, I will use G-Sync. I have consoles, movies secondary to me. So I was looking at maybe getting the Z9G, which is much more expensive, and it's a dream display. It doesn't fit my needs. It doesn't fit my gaming needs. It has a very high input lag. It has one HDMI 2.1 input. It has no HDMI 2.1 support, meaning there's no variable refresh rate, there's no G-Sync, there's no nothing. And it just doesn't fit my needs. And I know for myself, what I like more than anything is black level. So an OLED is something that I desire and want. I do miss the specular highlights a little bit, but I never felt the CX was too dim. But this is the one I'm going to run with as far as knowing what I want. So for me, and for you, if you have this floating black and you are within your return window, there's a few things you can do. You can either send it back to Best Buy or Amazon, wherever you got it, and give it another whirl, see what happens. My 77-inch is being replaced, getting picked up the Monday after Christmas. And I want to give them another shot. The screen uniformity did even out. It's still not great, but as I'm playing it lately, it does seem to even out in most content. 5% gray is still rough. Even whites are still rough. But I want to run with it. I love the size at 77 inches. In my opinion, 85 inches in this smaller room is too much for 4K up close, which is interesting because LG has announced an 83-inch OLED for next year that's 4K, which I can also wait for as the news will be out. I already know a lot of the news. It'll be out in January in terms of the full details, but I'd have to wait a long time to get my hands on that to have it, so I will probably still run with the CX. what I'm doing with mine. Oh yes, back to what I was saying with you guys is if you're having those issues, you can either call LG. A lot of times they'll honor a one-time switch. I would not settle for the crawling blacks. I would not settle for the raised blacks or the popping blacks or floating blacks. LG will honor most times a replacement or a one-time replacement. But if you're still in your return window, I recommend going through the store and just switching it out. Don't keep it. If you're out of your return window, which many of you are, don't anguish too much. Contact LG directly and spend as much time as you can to try to have them either come look at it, which is fine. They send a tech out. You can show them the issue. You can replicate it. They will see it. It's undeniable. They will either replace it. This is the experiences I've heard and from people that I know outside of YouTube that have gone through this. So don't settle for it. But if you're out of your return window, you might want to hang back and see if an update can address it. There's another update that's out in the wild. My updates have not helped me at all, really, in terms of the floating blacks or anything at all. If anything, it's made it worse. You might find an update helps you. The LG otherwise is excellent. My personal 77 inch is being picked up. So it's getting picked up the Monday after Christmas, as I mentioned. Mine was purchased from Value Electronics. They're dear friends of mine, which is also interesting. Just because they're friends of mine doesn't mean I want to keep sending back huge TVs to them. They're not Best Buy. They're not Amazon. You just can't habitually send returns back to friends of mine. And these aren't free, and they lose money if I do send them back. But what they're going to do for me is they're going to open up one at the store or several at the store of their calibrations. They're going to QC one, find me a clean panel, and then I'm going to go down and I'm going to check it out myself. I'll bring my console, and they have a Panasonic UB820 down there. We'll run some movies on it. We'll check it. Then I will also have it calibrated by Jonathan, who is their calibrator, who does them all day long. I will film him calibrating it, get his thoughts on the crawling blacks. I will stay with the LG CX. Again, as enticing as the new LG OLED is, because it's got a heatsink in the back, it'll be 1,000 nits. That is something that is interesting. However, this one is paid for. And I'm predicting probably the $6,000, $6,500 range at launch for the 83 inch. And I think 83 inch is a little big for this particular room. So in short, 15 minutes in, to address the comments, which I do want to address. Again, I'm active in the comments. I have no problem responding to the comments. It's one of my favorite things to do. Videos like that get a little out of hand, they do get a lot of views, which is great. I can't really control what happens in the comments. I don't like toxic comments. I don't like watching people ask a simple question and then get absolutely beaten down the minute they ask a simple question by a toxic group. Our community, to me, and our channel is very unique. We do keep things positive. We are there as friends to try and help each other. I do not want to deliver news and tell you your panel is garbage. I don't believe there's any garbage panels out there. I think it's all about your budget. It's all about what you need personally. This display fits my needs. The display you love, be it the Q90T, be it the TCLs, which I have one here as well, be it the Sonys. I know what I need personally. And that's a video we're going to do. The best display is the one that's best for you, whether it's your budget or your needs. The Z9G is amazing. I would love to have it. It would not do well here with its pixel response and its gaming performance. I would have, and here's the thing, even an LED that amazing still blooms. And it does bloom, and a lot of the games I play are in dark environments. Ghost of Tsushima, that black level is amazing when it works. I would get taken out of it by blooming, which is why I went OLED to begin with. OLED is interesting as it's a lot like plasma. People absolutely love it, then people absolutely hate it. But it is not the end-all, be-all. It is not perfect. The situation or the issues I'm having with my OLEDs are LED-like, raised blacks. There is a haloing that happens at times that does feel LED-ish. The banding that I see on this, I never saw on OLED before. I would see banding on OLEDs in red and green. I have done videos on a bunch of different ones of different friends, their homes. I saw more banding on these panels. Even the Sony A9S had some banding that I didn't see on other OLEDs. So about the comments, the toxicity, that's fine. Do whatever you want in the comments. But if you want me to respond, I'll be glad to answer your questions. Attacking me or attacking others, I will not allow. That video, unfortunately, is too far gone for me to really respond much more. But know that I have nothing to gain by trashing my own display. Nothing to gain. Nothing to gain, and I can change my mind. These things are like living, breathing things with their updates. They do change. The narrative will change. I love what OLED does. What I like about this, about the LGs, and having the Sony A9S Master Series in here, a lot of you have said, well, hey, just screw it. And I'm going to explain myself. They're going to say, screw it, just grab an A9G, which is awesome. A9G is absolutely gorgeous. I had the A9S in here. I absolutely loved it. The A8H, A8G, all these different OLEDs, I love them. Panasonic, Value Electronics actually has them there. They don't fit my needs. And that's very important to understand. Yes, an A9G would look great, specifically for movies. The reason I like the LG, I do like the saturation. I do like the flexibility of the image. As much as I love Sony, their settings are very basic, and and it's a good thing in some ways. All the extra stuff that this panel does has crippled it in many ways. In order to test it, you have to shut off FreeSync, VRR, knock down this color, knock down that one. Sony's very straightforward. It's very streamlined, and it's really without issues. They're not perfect either, obviously. But I like the headroom of LG. I like being able to change the image with every piece of content that I watch. I do like that. So while I appreciate you telling me, dude, just buy an A9G. Yes, that's great advice. I don't want one, or I'd have one. Having the PS5, which I didn't buy from scalpers, by the way, but I will do a video on that. It is nice to go and do 4K 120 or 1440p 120 or use those features. That's why I want this display. And the LG CX, in my opinion, is still the most fully featured, fully spec'd panel out there. It does everything. Doesn't do everything perfect, but it does do everything. The HDMI, having all of them plugged into the TV, the eARC works perfect. It's great. Love the panel. But it's not perfect. To sit up here and tell you that it's perfect, there's no problems, is disingenuous. To tell you that, hey, mine are all great, no problem. But I want to give you some clarity in where I'm going with it. I am going to stick with it. I am going to grab another one. But I will be with Value Electronics as they do QC the 77-inch. We can talk about, I probably won't have my panel back by January. If something amazing happens with LG's announcement in January, who knows? Maybe we do make a switch. But I am with OLED. I do want OLED. I do love what it does in both film and in games. And I am staying with it. It's okay to be honest about what's wrong with it, though. Those of you in the comments, OLED is perfect. I don't agree. OLED is trash. That's ridiculous. It's absurd. You can say it's not for you, though. It's okay to say you don't love OLED's image quality or LED's image quality, but just the toxicity, just not necessary. It's a display. They're TVs. And also quickly in the comments, and I've encountered this since I've gotten into YouTube, this protection of your own panels, this protection of your own tech, these are mine. I mean, I've criticized my own receiver, my own whatever. Don't be so sensitive about what you have. It's okay. If you're happy with what you have, be happy with it. Be content with it. But I'm going to talk about, especially the things that I have. I'm not a professional reviewer. I'm just you. I'm not paid by anybody. These are mine. And right now, they're a little, when they work, they're amazing. To me, they're unrivaled when they work. Not just in picture quality, but in feature set, what it does. I'm very happy with them. However, those little black things that I have to replace and see if it can be fixed. And real quick, about it being fixed, I will see if calibration sorts it out. I am not a calibrator. Don't claim to be one. We're going to watch and see if it can be sorted out via calibration, which is why I'll also invest the extra $400 or $500 to have them QC the panel and calibrate it. And I'll let you know how it goes. But if you have raised blacks, you have, not the raised blacks, I'm sorry, the floating blacks and all those issues, and you're unhappy with it, don't settle for it. Call LG, call the store, send it back, try another panel. You have to wait a few weeks for me to figure it out. I was going to do a switch with LG. They were going to drop it off and just switch it out. But Value Electronics wanted to QC one for me and check out and see a clean panel, which you can also have them do for you for an extra charge. But they wanted to make sure that I get a good one. So we're going to do that. It'll take a little bit longer, but I do love the panel. I am staying with it. It is another long video. But I want to talk about the flip-flopping and the fear-mongering. I have absolutely no desire to do that. I won't be covering this subject again until this panel comes back. So I won't be doing, HDMI 2.1 is good, HDMI 2.1 is bad, in every other video. Not interested in that at all, but I had to follow up that other video. I will not be jumping into that video's comments. I don't really can get into that. Please comment on this one if you have an actual question for me, and I'll get back to you. I appreciate all you guys. I enjoy all you guys. I love you guys. I hope all is well, and I will see you soon. Take care.